Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my June wrap up for you guys and I'm really excited about it because I feel like I have some really good books to talk about this month. So I managed to read 11 books in June, and out of those 11 books, I think 4 of them were 5 stars, so I definitely found like some new favorites of the year, some new favorites of all time. There's so many good books that I read in June and I'm just so excited to get into it. So I think I'm going to structure this video based on star rating, so I'm going to start with the lowest books in the beginning, and then we're going to work our way up to my 5 stars, keep you in suspense, that kind of thing. But actually I'm gonna start with the things that I gave no rating, because normally I don't rate like novellas, manga, graphic novels, those kinds of things, just because I find them really hard to rate. So I just don't. But I have 4 things this month that I did not give a rating. So let's quickly talk about those. So the first one, and the only one that I have a physical copy of out of these 4, is Beyond the Clouds. This is volume 1 of a new manga series that I was trying out, and I really ended up enjoying this. I picked this up on a whim from the library one day because I saw it recommended to me like randomly on Goodreads, and I thought the cover was really pretty, and I was like, I wanna see what that's about. So I looked into it and I thought it was really fun, so I went to pick it up, and I did read volume 1 this month. So this follows our main character Theo, who is a mechanic, and one day he sees this little girl fall from the sky who is actually is she an angel? I'm not sure, but she has wings and one of her wings is broken. So like the mechanic he's going to like build her new wings. And they have such a cute friendship that forms, and I just really enjoyed this. The art style in this is definitely what drew me in, and it's definitely what is going to keep me reading this series because it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, just look at like the cover and the back of it. Look at like the inside. Do we see this? It's just so pretty. This is also described on the back as a dreamlike odyssey that's part Studio Ghibli and part Final Fantasy, which was another thing that drew me in because while I've never, played Final Fantasy, I get the vibes. But like the Studio Ghibli part was what really drew me in, and I definitely see that in the way that the story is told. I just thought it was adorable, honestly. And if you're looking for a new manga series, I thought this one was pretty good. Next up this month, I did finally finish catching up with all of the volumes of Yawn of the Dawn, and I'm still sad about it, honestly. I read these volumes at the beginning of the month, but I'm still just like, what do I do now? But I read volumes 7 and 8 this month, and they were so much fun, as always. I mean, do I have to tell you about Yawn of the Dawn again? Because if you don't know, let me fill you in really quickly. Basically, the series follows our main character Yona, who is a princess of her kingdom, until one day something very harrowing happens at the kingdom, and she has to flee with her bodyguard, Hawk. And basically, the series follows them as they are trying to, run away from the people of the kingdom. They meet a bunch of friends along the way. There are dragons involved in this series. It's very much like historical fantasy with a romance element. I love it so much. It's got found family, it's got a slow burn romance, it's got a bodyguard romance, like literally everything about it is absolutely stunning, and if you haven't read it, I don't know what you're doing. You could also watch the anime. The anime is great too. The only thing is there's only 1 season of it, which is also a crime, but I digress. I will move on from talking about it. This will probably be the last time you hear me talk about Yona until volume 39, I think, comes out in August, but I am waiting. Actually, that's not too far away, is it? Yay. Anyway, moving on to the last thing that I have in my category of things that I did not rate. We have Silver in the Wood by Emily Tesh. I saw Leonie from the book Leo mention this in a video that she did like at the beginning of the month, and I never heard of it. I thought it sounded interesting. It's like a fantasy novella with very much like cottagecore kind of, I feel like I say the word vibes too much, but vibes to it, and I was very intrigued. So I decided to pick it up on audio, and let me tell you, the audiobook is honestly kind of the way to go with this because the narrator has such a nice, deep voice, and I feel like it lended itself really well to the story. But as for the story itself, you are following our main character whose name I cannot remember, but he lives in the middle of the wood. He's got like a very deep connection with nature. He's friends with like nymphs, that sort of thing. And one day our other main character, Henry, kind of wanders into the wood, and a friendship and maybe something more sparks between them. This one definitely felt very like folk tale, fairy tale inspired, and I really liked the way that it was told. However, I don't know if I really connected with this story in any way. Like, I really liked it and I enjoyed listening to the audiobook for it, but I feel like maybe it was too short, but also I don't know how I would feel if it was longer. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna pick up the second novella that's kind of in this series. I'm not sure yet. But if you are in the market for like a quick fantasy novella, I would definitely recommend this. So moving on from my no rating category, we are now going to move into my 4 stars for the month because I did not give any books 3 stars, which is Always good. First of all, on a whim, I did decide to do a reread of A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. I annotated it this time. It was honestly super fun, I can't lie. When I first read ACOTAR, obviously I really liked it. I liked it enough to continue the series, and I definitely love the series as a whole. But I feel like my love for the series as a whole originally kind of just stemmed from my enjoyment of A Court of Mist and Fury, because I don't love A Court of Wings and Ruin, and originally I was like, I don't love ACOTAR either, but upon this reread, I actually had a really good time. Like, going into this, I was kind of just waiting for like the last 150 pages, if you know what I mean, because like getting to there, it's a bit tedious. But honestly, this time around, I really enjoyed reading it because now that like I know things that are going to happen, seeing the groundwork being laid for those, I was like, I see you and I don't like it. So honestly, a lot of these tabs are me just heckling people, but it was really fun. And then when I got to the last 150 pages, I was having like the best time I was living. I know it's a very harrowing time for Feyre, and I know like a lot of bad things are happening, but I just forgot how like fast-paced these last 150 pages are. I feel like I was flying through them, honestly, and I was loving it. And I would go into a synopsis of ACOTAR, but I'm just kind of gonna assume you know at this point, so there we go. Next up, I have The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I probably did not end up enjoying this book as much as I thought I was going to, which is a little bit disappointing because, well, actually first let me give you a synopsis, then I will explain. So basically, in this book you're following our main character Oriah, who is a human in a world of vampires, and she's kind of fed up with it, you know. So in an attempt to kind of carve a place for herself in this world of predators, she decides to partake in a tournament. I forgot what the tournament is called. So she decides to take place in this tournament called the Kajari, which is made up of 5 different trials that take place 2 weeks apart. And if she wins this trial, she will be granted a wish by the goddess Nyaxia. And she plans to use this wish to make herself more powerful and more of like a real player in the world of predators, you know what I'm saying? So with this book, there were definitely so many aspects to it that I really enjoyed. I definitely enjoyed all of the trials in the tournament. I thought they were really well written. I liked the action sequences and I thought it was really cool. This book is also typically pitched as fantasy romance, so obviously there is like a little love interest going on who is also partaking in the tournament, and they kind of, you know, team up and work together, and that's kind of how their love blossoms or whatever. And I kind of liked Rain. Like, for a while there, I was really into him. And then some things happened, but we'll talk about that in a second. So overall, here's the thing with this book. For the first half of this book, I wasn't like completely into it. We were kind of in the like setup, getting to the tournament, kind of meeting all these people, like that kind of thing. And I was like, you know, I think this is gonna go somewhere. And then it definitely did go somewhere, and for like almost the entire second half of this book, I was loving it because it's like, you know, vampires, fantasy romance, the trials were really fun. I really liked all of that. But I did not like the ending to this book, honestly, and that's why I did not give this a 5 stars. I feel like some of the decisions made by Oriah at the end of this book were maybe not necessarily out of character, but they're not the decisions that I would have wanted her to make, but like, I just don't know. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to spoil anything, but there are just some aspects to this book that I did not end up loving. And I was talking to Elaine about this because we were buddy reading this book together, and she feels the same way. I will probably continue this series because I did think like the world building and the magic was pretty cool, and I do want to see how things do pan out for our 2 main characters and their romance, but I just don't know. I need to read the second book and see how I feel about it. And then the last book that I gave 4 stars this month was The Secret Service of Tea and Treason by India Holton. This is the 3rd book in the Dangerous Damsel series, and I'm not sure if it's the final book or not, but I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really fun. I don't know if it's quite my favorite of the series. You know, it might be. So this book follows our 2 main characters who are a maid and a butler, and they are part of this spy agency, basically, and they're kind of sent on this mission together. I do not remember what the mission is at this point in time, but they're kind of, I don't know if I would call them rivals really, because it wasn't necessarily like a serious rivalry going on between them, but it's kind of got rivals to lovers, sort of, if that makes sense. But I really liked the dynamic between these 2. I really liked the setting of this book because I think it's set in this castle. Look at that. Any book that's set in like an old castle, I'm very much into, because there were scenes of them, you know, like creeping around, looking for clues and doing spy things, I guess. I also really liked that in this story you were following around characters who would typically be sidekicks in other books, but seeing them get their own like main points of view was really nice. And this series is just such a fun time. I think India Holton is coming out with a new book next year, I think, and it's called The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. Honestly, the title is all I know about it, but I'm already super excited, so cannot wait to read more from India Holton. I just love her books. And now we can move on to my 5-star reads for the month, which I am obviously super excited to talk about all of them, even though you've probably heard me already talk about all of them. So I am kind of going to go through these quickly because I did talk about them recently in my mid-year freakout tag, but you know, I can't not put them in here. So the first book that I have here is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I picked this one up on a whim. Honestly, I saw people getting it in their Fairy Loot subscriptions, and I, who at the time did not have a Fairy Loot subscription, was like, I don't know what I'm gonna have to do, but I need that book because I thought it was stunning, honestly. And I was like, I don't even care what it's about. I want to buy it. So I found a copy of it and I bought it. And literally the day it got to my house, sat down, cracked it open, read it in less than 24 hours. I freaking loved this book. So the premise of this book is there's a war going on between some gods or whatever. That's honestly like not the forefront of the story. It's kind of just something that's going on. So this book opens up on our main character Iris, whose brother Forrest is currently going off to war. And while he is away at war, Iris ends up getting a job at a newspaper, and the first part of this book is her kind of trying to move her way up in the ranks of the people who work at this newspaper. But there's somebody at this newspaper who wants the same spot that Iris wants, whose name is Roman, hence the rivals part of this title. Honestly, I really love their dynamic. I don't think they're truly rivals. It doesn't feel like quite to that extent, but they do call each other by their last names. They like mess up things on their desk, like that kind of thing, and I thought it was really cute, honestly. But the other like main part of this book is that every night Iris goes home and she writes out letters to her brother Forrest, which she sends through some magic of some sort. And she's been writing these for years, thinking they are actually making their way to Forrest, but actually they are making their way to, yeah, that's right, her rival, Roman. And for a while he's been reading them. He knows that they're from her, but he's never responded. Until one day he does respond, and they kind of start this like pen pal sort of situation, except she doesn't know that he is writing to her, but like he knows that it's her. So it's very much like You've Got Mail, but with magical typewriters. I just really loved this book. I loved the relationship between the two of them, and watching as it progresses throughout the story is just lovely, honestly. Like, I know the title may make it seem like, you know, oh, they're rivals or whatever, but like it's so, I don't even know how to describe it. I just absolutely loved it. So if you're looking for a new duology to start, please start Divine Rivals. It's so good. The second book comes out next April, I think, and I'm so excited. So the next book that I gave 5 stars, I'm really not going to spend too much time talking about it because I know you're probably sick of it. Hell, I love this book and I'm kind of sick of hearing about it. But that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Yes, I read it. Yes, I gave it 5 stars. Yes, it's gonna be one of my favorite books of the year. Potentially one of my favorite books of all time. I just absolutely loved it. So if you have not picked up Fourth Wing and it sounds like something that you would like, absolutely you gotta pick it up. But that's all I'll say. The next book that I have here is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. Oh my god, I love this book. This was my Patreon buddy read for the month of June, and I actually have an exclusive reading vlog. If you want to check out my Patreon, you can go watch that. Links below. But I just absolutely fell in love with this book. I fell in love with these characters. It's so good. But I feel like I've also spent way too much time talking about this book recently, so I will leave you with this. If you like historical romance and you like Howl's Moving Castle, pick this book up, please. Just trust me on this. And then finally, my last 5 star that I have to talk to you about is An Impossible Imposter by Dina Raybourn. This is the 7th book in the Veronica Speedwell series, and obviously I loved it. I was so scared after I read, what's that one called? An Unexpected Peril, which is the 6th book. I was so scared that I wasn't gonna like this series anymore because I wouldn't say I didn't like An Unexpected Peril, but it was like nowhere near the rest of the books in the series for me. You know what I'm saying? I just wasn't into it. But I started this one And I was so excited because it was so good. This book specifically provides a lot of background for our main character Veronica, which I feel like was very essential for like getting to know her as a character, and I really like that we now know more about her. And also, I just finished A Sinister Revenge, which is the 8th book in this series, and seeing kind of the aftermath of everything that went down in this book, kind of catch up to the characters in the 8th book. So good. I loved it. 5 stars. So yeah, those are kind of all the constructive thoughts that I have on this book as well. I know I haven't said a ton about the books in this category, but I don't want to bore you all to tears while I talk about all of these books yet again. So I will not do that. But just know that I absolutely loved all of these and would highly recommend any of these to anybody. Just do it. So that is everything. That is the entirety of my June wrap up. Again, I feel like I read so many good books this month, so please, I implore you to take some recommendations away from this video. You'll thank me later. If you want to know my favorite book that I read this month, I still don't know. It's between Half a Soul and Fourth Wing. But like literally I cannot choose, and you cannot make me choose, therefore I will not. So I feel like I've had a very successful reading month. I'm really hoping you guys also had a very successful reading month, but I would love to hear about it in the comments. Please, as always, do let me know what your favorite book that you read this month is, or if you're feeling shady, I would love to know your least favorite book this month. Don't forget, I did recently start a Patreon, so if you guys want any extra content, journaling videos, readathons, monthly buddy reads, this month we are reading The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. If you want to come and join us, the link will be down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you again so much for watching. I don't remember if I said it, but thank you for being here,